They told him he was too old to travel, too weak to live alone, too forgetful to cook for himself. But at 83, Mr. Harold packed a single suitcase, flew across the Pacific, and moved in with his son in a quiet town outside Osaka, Japan. What happened next, even his doctors couldn't explain. He started sleeping better. The pain in his knees faded, and he walked more in a week than he had in months back home. Why? Not because of pills, not because of surgeries, but because of 4 small bad habits his Japanese neighbors practiced every day. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where are you watching this from and what time is it for you right now? Please let me know in the comments below. I truly look forward to reading them. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss what's coming next. What if bad habits are just misunderstood? We grow up learning there's a right way to stay healthy. Don't eat after 7 p.m. Avoid naps during the day. Exercise hard or it doesn't count. Salt. Cut it out completely. But what if those rules were written for younger bodies? What if the things we've been told to avoid are actually what older bodies need to stay calm, balanced, and alive? In Harold's first month in Japan, he didn't do anything dramatic. He didn't join a gym. He didn't follow a strict diet. He simply lived the way his elderly neighbors did. And somehow, everything began to shift. Back in America, Harold had followed the book. Low-sodium meals, no food after dinner, daily workouts even when it hurt. But it always felt like he was swimming upstream, tired, frustrated, always one step behind his own aging body. In Japan, the current changed. The rules were different. Meals were quiet. Movement was gentle. No one pushed their limits. And yet everyone, especially the elders, seemed to glow with something Harold couldn't name. Peace, perhaps, or presence. Here's the truth. What we label bad in Western medicine isn't always bad. Sometimes it's just misunderstood, especially when it comes to aging. Modern science is beginning to catch up with this idea. Researchers in Japan have long observed that their elderly population, one of the healthiest and longest living in the world, does things that contradict American health advice. They eat late. They nap. They rarely do intense workouts. They use natural salts in cooking. But here's the key: they do all of this with balance, intention, and deep cultural wisdom passed down for centuries. In the next few minutes, I'll take you through the 4 so-called bad habits that helped Harold at 83 feel better, move better, and live with more energy than many people half his age. These habits may surprise you. They may even go against what your own doctor once said. But I invite you to listen with curiosity, not judgment, because maybe, just maybe, your body has been waiting for something gentler all along. Let's begin. Late-night meals that heal. A warm bowl before bed. It was 9:15 p.m. when Harold first saw it. The soft glow of a paper lantern in his neighbor's kitchen. Through the sliding door, he watched an elderly couple, both well into their 80s, sitting on floor cushions, quietly sharing a small bowl of miso soup and pickled daikon. No TV, no distractions. Just the warmth of the broth, the silence of the moment. He thought it was strange. Back home, he'd been warned, never eat after 7 p.m. It'll mess with your digestion. You'll gain weight. Your blood sugar will spike. But here they were, calm, content, and full of life. He would later learn this small nighttime ritual was part of their health, not a threat to it. In Japan, this habit is not uncommon. Elderly people often eat light, warm meals late in the evening, small portions that soothe the stomach, not stress it. And miso. It's not just comfort food. It's a fermented treasure rich in probiotics, minerals, and natural umami that nourishes the gut and relaxes the body. For Harold, giving up the no eating after dark rule was a quiet rebellion. He began having a warm bowl of miso soup at 8:30 p.m., sometimes with tofu, sometimes just seaweed. To his surprise, his sleep improved. He stopped waking up hungry at 3 a.m., his digestion settled, and most importantly, his nighttime became peaceful rather than a battle against his cravings. But why does this work especially for older adults? As we age, our bodies change. Blood sugar regulation becomes trickier. Hunger signals don't always follow the same rhythm. Going to bed on an empty stomach, especially for someone over 65, can lead to sleep disruptions, muscle loss, and even nighttime anxiety. Japanese elders understand this intuitively. A light, salty warming dish at night can stabilize blood sugar, support the nervous system, and prepare the body for rest. It's not a heavy meal, it's a whisper to the body. You are safe. You are fed. You can rest now. Western nutrition often treats food as fuel or threat. Japanese culture sees food as relationship, to nature, to the seasons, to the body. That night, Harold didn't just eat soup. He was part of something deeper, a rhythm, a way of caring for the body that isn't based on fear but on trust. And so he kept that ritual. Every night, just like his neighbors, he made a small bowl. He didn't count calories. He just listened to the warmth, the silence, and to how his body slowly began to feel alive again. The midday pause, rediscovering the power of naps. At first, Harold thought they were just resting their eyes. Every day around 1:00 p.m., his elderly neighbors would finish lunch, tidy their dishes, and then quietly lie down on their futons or tatami mats for a nap. No alarms, no guilt, just a peaceful pause. In America, he would have called it laziness. Back home, rest during the day often feels like a weakness, like giving up. There's a pressure to stay busy, to stay productive. But here in this quiet Japanese town, rest wasn't laziness, it was wisdom. Harold was curious. He tried it just once. After a simple lunch of grilled fish and rice, he lay on the tatami floor, hands folded on his belly, a soft breeze coming through the paper screen. To his surprise, he drifted off just 15 minutes, and when he woke up, he felt clearer, not groggy, not ashamed. Just calm, centered. He didn't know it then, but what he was doing had a name, inamori. In Japanese, this word means being present while asleep. It reflects the idea that even short moments of intentional rest are not escape, but part of one's presence and awareness. Science agrees. Recent studies from Japan's Ministry of Health show that short midday naps around 20 to 30 minutes can significantly lower blood pressure, reduce the risk of heart disease, and even improve memory in older adults. Not hours of sleep, just a small moment of surrender. Why does this matter so much as we age? As the body gets older, energy isn't stored the way it once was. Digestion takes more effort. The nervous system tires more quickly. A short nap gives the heart a break, allows the brain to reset, and supports healing at the cellular level. In Japan, this is not just accepted, it's respected. Harold noticed even public libraries had quiet corners for older people to nap. Benches in the shade designed not just for sitting, but for soft stillness. In time, he learned to look forward to that pause. It was no longer a gap in his day. It was a gift. His body no longer raced against the clock. It flowed with it. There's something powerful about listening when your body says, "I need rest," especially when the world keeps telling you to push. For Harold, that 15-minute nap after lunch became sacred, a quiet ceremony of healing. Not a sign of weakness, but of balance. If you've ever felt guilty for dozing off in the afternoon, I invite you to see it differently. Maybe your body isn't betraying you. Maybe it's guiding you. Walking slowly, healing deeply. The Japanese way to move. When Harold first arrived in Japan, he was still wearing his American mindset like an old coat. His doctor had told him to move more, so he did what most 83-year-olds in the US try: 30-minute aerobic workouts, resistance bands, and online fitness classes designed for seniors. But after each session, his knees ached, his lower back flared, and his energy dipped for days. He thought he was doing the right thing, but his body disagreed. Then he noticed something strange. His neighbors, most of them older than he was, didn't exercise in the way he understood it. They didn't lift weights. They didn't do squats or fast-paced routines. Instead, they moved slowly. Every morning at sunrise, he'd see Mrs. Aiko open her sliding door and step barefoot into her garden. She'd bow gently to the sun, stretch her arms, and begin a slow walk, no destination, no rush. Sometimes she'd pause to tend to a flower, breathe deeply, or greet a bird passing by. That was her exercise, and she did it every single day. Harold was skeptical at first. Could something so simple really count? But he tried it. Just a short walk around the house barefoot if the weather allowed breathing with each step. No music, no phone, no tracking. Only him and the morning air. To his surprise, something shifted. After 2 weeks, his knees hurt less, his hips loosened, and perhaps most importantly, he began to enjoy moving again, not as a chore, but as a ritual. In Japan, this form of gentle movement is deeply embedded in the culture. There's a saying, "Karada wa tsukate nagareru." The body flows best when gently used. This philosophy treats movement not as a way to burn calories or fight aging, but as a way to live with the body, not against it. And science supports this. A recent study from Kyoto University found that elderly individuals who engage in daily low-intensity walking, not fast, not far, had significantly lower rates of joint inflammation and muscle loss than those who performed high-intensity exercises twice a week. Why? Because intense workouts can stress aging joints and spike cortisol levels, which slows healing and worsens inflammation. But light, consistent movement keeps circulation steady, supports lymphatic flow, and reduces stiffness without overloading the system. Harold remembered how back home he would push himself, thinking sweat and soreness were signs of progress. But in Japan, progress looked different. It looked like ease, like waking up without groaning, like walking without fear of falling. His daily walks became sacred, sometimes around the garden, sometimes inside the house with soft slippers and gentle steps. Each step was a conversation with his body. I'm here. I'm listening. He even started to notice more around him: the sound of birds, the way sunlight hit the floor, the rhythm of his own breathing. The walk was no longer about getting somewhere. It was about being here. So if movement has become something you dread, if your body feels punished instead of supported, maybe it's time to shift. Not give up, but go gentler. Not stop moving, but move with kindness. Because sometimes walking slower is the fastest way back to health. A morning ritual: warm water and a pinch of salt. Harold used to start his mornings the American way: black coffee, 2 pills for blood pressure, and silence, heavy, tired silence. His digestion felt sluggish. He was often lightheaded when standing, and no matter how much water he drank during the day, his mouth stayed dry and his body tight. But in Japan, things changed. One morning, he noticed his host mother, an 89-year-old woman named Michiko, begin her day not with coffee, but with a small cup of warm water. She added just a pinch of coarse sea salt, stirred it gently, and drank it slowly as she stood by the window looking out at the bamboo trees. She said softly, "This is how I wake my body. Not with noise, but with kindness." Harold was curious. The next day he joined her. The water was warm, not hot, soothing as it touched his throat. The salt, barely noticeable, left a soft aftertaste. Within a few days, he felt something shift. His morning dizziness faded. His digestion became more regular. His skin looked less dry, and the fog in his head began to lift. He didn't understand why until he asked a local nurse. She explained that many elderly Japanese begin their day this way. It's an old practice rooted in both tradition and practical knowledge. As we age, our sense of thirst weakens. By the time we feel thirsty, we're often already dehydrated, especially after a night's sleep. And when we drink plain water in large amounts too quickly, it can flush out essential minerals like sodium and potassium, leaving the body even more imbalanced. But warm water with a touch of salt. It gently rehydrates, it supports the adrenal glands, and it helps activate the digestive system, preparing it for breakfast without shocking it. The salt used is not table salt. It's natural sea salt, unrefined, full of trace minerals like magnesium and calcium. Just a pinch is enough to signal the body, you are nourished, you are ready. Michiko called it her morning medicine. Not because it fixed something broken, but because it reminded her that her body was still alive and worthy of gentle care. In Japanese culture, morning rituals are sacred. They don't rush. They honor transitions, night to day, sleep to wakefulness, stillness to motion. And this small act, less than a minute long, sets the tone for the entire day. For Harold, the warm salt water became more than hydration. It became a symbol of presence, of doing something small, quiet, and good for himself first, before anyone else needed him, before the world made demands. He noticed he stopped craving coffee first thing. His energy smoothed out. He even started humming while washing his face. It wasn't magic, it was alignment. With his body, with the rhythm of the morning, with a way of living that whispered, you don't need to push, you just need to care. So tomorrow morning, before you reach for your coffee or pills, try this. A small cup of warm water, a tiny pinch of mineral salt, and a moment of quiet to begin your day, not with force, but with softness. The wisdom beneath the bad. What these habits have in common. By the end of his first month in Japan, Harold hadn't just changed a few routines, he had changed his relationship with his body. But what surprised him most wasn't how different these habits were from what he'd been told in the US. It was how natural they felt once he stopped fighting them. Late-night miso soup, a short nap after lunch, slow walks without a goal, warm water with a pinch of sea salt. None of these were part of any fitness plan. Yet together, they gently began to rebuild him from the inside out. At first glance, these habits look like contradictions. Eat at night. That's supposed to be bad. Nap during the day. Lazy. Don't exercise hard. Irresponsible. Add salt to water. Dangerous. But maybe the real problem isn't the habits, it's how we judge them, especially in old age. What Harold realized was that these four practices had something in common. They all came from a place of gentleness. They respected the rhythm of an aging body instead of resisting it, and instead of pushing, they invited balance. Let's look again. The late-night soup wasn't a heavy meal, it was a way to nourish the body with warmth and minerals, helping it rest better. The nap wasn't laziness, it was the body's natural request for recovery after digestion. The slow walk wasn't not enough, it was the precise dose of movement needed to keep the joints alive without overloading them. The salt water wasn't a health risk, it was a simple, ancient way to rehydrate the body with what it naturally needs. And more importantly, each of these habits asked Harold to pause, to pay attention, to listen. In American culture, aging often feels like a decline, something to resist, to fight, to delay. But in Japan, Harold saw something else, a kind of surrender, not to weakness, but to wisdom. The elders around him weren't trying to be younger, they were trying to be whole. And they succeeded not by doing more, but by doing less with more care. This is where healing began, not in effort, but in alignment. One afternoon, Harold sat on the porch and watched the sun move slowly across the sky. He thought about how back home he would have filled this time with tasks, emails, checklists, appointments. But now just sitting felt like enough, not because he was giving up, but because he was finally letting his body be. It turns out health doesn't always require more discipline. Sometimes it simply asks for a return to something softer, something older than any fitness trend or diet plan. As Harold looked back, he saw not 4 bad habits, but 4 doorways into presence, into listening, into real embodied care. Why the Japanese live longer. It's more than just habits. Harold once believed that health came from discipline. You eat the right food, you take the right pills, you follow the right plan. But after living in Japan for just a few months, he realized something deeper. Health isn't just about what you do. It's about what surrounds you, your environment, your culture, your pace of life. He saw it everywhere. In the soft silence of morning walks, in the way people greeted each other with bows and eye contact, in the tiny rituals that brought dignity to everyday acts like washing rice, folding clothes, or setting the table. Japan isn't just full of healthy elders, it's a country built around the idea that aging is natural and worthy of respect. Harold learned a word he had never heard before: shokunin. It means craftsman, but not just in the sense of skill. A shokunin is someone who puts their full heart into even the smallest task, whether it's making miso, carving wood, or caring for their body. That's how the elders lived, with care, with rhythm, with pride in slowness. He also noticed that no one was alone. Elders walked in pairs. They gathered in parks. They shopped daily at small markets, exchanging smiles with familiar faces. Loneliness, so common among seniors in the U.S., was rare here. In Japan, elders are honored, not hidden. They are not seen as burdens, but as living libraries. And that sense of purpose that being seen creates something medicine cannot. There's also the food, simple, seasonal, alive. He noticed staples like miso soup, fermented and rich with friendly bacteria, tsukemono, pickled vegetables full of enzymes, natto, sticky fermented soybeans that fight inflammation, green tea loaded with antioxidants, barley tea, mujicha, caffeine-free and cooling. But it wasn't just what they ate, it was how. Small portions, no rush, often shared, and always with gratitude, literally. Before eating, everyone said, "Itadakimasu," I humbly receive. It reminded Harold that eating is not a task. It's a relationship with the earth, with the cook, with the moment. Even their home supported health. Low furniture encouraged squatting and standing. Shoes were left outside to keep air clean. Windows were opened often, and beds, often just thin futons, forcing the body to stretch and move daily. Every detail mattered, not because they chased longevity, but because they lived presently, and in that presence, health grew. Harold didn't set out to change his life. He simply followed the quiet wisdom of those around him. Elders who moved slowly, ate late, rested without guilt, and began each day with a warm glass of water and presence. What he found wasn't a miracle cure. It was something softer, more lasting. A way of living that didn't fight aging but flowed with it. A life not measured by steps or blood pressure readings, but by how deeply he could breathe, how well he slept, and how often he smiled for no reason at all. Maybe you've been told that your best years are behind you. But what if the best days, the ones with meaning, calm, and joy, are still ahead? And maybe all your body needs is not more effort, but more kindness. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and know this: it's never too late to begin again, not with fear, but with gentleness. Important note: health information on YouTube may not apply to everyone and is not medical advice. If you're concerned about your health, please consult your doctor or a local clinic. And if you believe you're having an emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately.